As their cult leader, Donald Trump, faces a federal indictment and 37 felonies, desperate Republicans are scrambling to impugn President Biden and his family by escalating the claim that Biden was part of an illegal bribery scheme during his time as Barack Obama's vice president. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. So as we've discussed in previous videos, Congressional Republicans' priorities since they retook the majority in the House of Representatives has simply been to try to impugn President Biden and Hunter Biden and the rest of the Biden family politically. They're not focused on addressing the wage gap, climate change, health care, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, nothing like that. Nothing that matters to the American people on a day-to-day basis. They're trying to use their majority to simply hurt President Biden's chances of winning the presidency again in 2024. And in this respect, they have been woefully inadequate. As we've discussed in previous videos, it's gotten so bad that Fox News and other right-wing journalists, people like Maria Bartiromo, people like Steve Doocy and Brian Kilmeade and others have publicly called out and mocked Congressional Republicans' attempt to impugn President Biden, claiming that that Biden was part of some sort of illegal bribery scheme involving an unnamed foreign national, and they've not produced any evidence to support it. Even though they claim time and time again that they have the smoking gun or the evidence is right around the corner. Well, now that President Trump has been indicted federally and faces 37 felonies, 38 charges total of illegal conduct, and the indictment, of course, as we've covered in previous videos, being quite persuasive, even to many other conservatives, Congressional Republicans are desperate to refocus the narrative, refocus attention away from Trump's definitive illegal activity into this world of hypotheticals and make-believe with respect to Joe Biden. Now, the Washington Post has a really good article, that's constantly updated, documenting Congressional Republicans, particularly in the House of Representatives, particularly in the House Oversight Committee led by James Comer. They have a really good article describing the ongoing effort by Congressional Republicans. Now, there's been an interesting addition, interesting, maybe an overstatement, but a new addition that occurred right around the time that Donald Trump was indicted. So, James Comer, Republican, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Senator Chuck Grassley, who is this ancient Republican, I think he's 89 years old, he's up there with Dianne Feinstein, they are collaborating and discussing apparently new evidence that Joe Biden engaged corruptly and illegally in a bribery scheme involving a foreign national. On Monday, Grassley attempted to inject a new wrinkle into the discussion. According to the 1023, which is the federal document that Republicans had been chasing for the last few weeks, the unnamed foreign national possesses 15 audio recordings of phone calls between him and Hunter Biden, he said from the floor of the Senate. According to the 1023, the foreign national possesses 2 audio recordings of phone calls between him and then Vice President Joe Biden. So what, if anything, has the Justice Department and FBI done to investigate? So the 1023 again refers to the document that was filed by an FBI source during the Trump administration, when Trump and Bill Barr and Trump-appointed officials led the Department of Justice. And the Washington Post article describes it. It's really important to remember that while this new information, purportedly redacted from the version of the document shown to Congress, it is not new evidence. It's the same alleged executive talking to the same FBI source in the same document. In other words, the claim that these recordings exist comes from the same person who alleges the bribe was paid. It is of no more credibility than the original claim. The original claim being an FBI source, a credible FBI source, overheard a conversation involving another person, and that person claimed that Joe Biden was engaged in corruption. The credible FBI source is not making the allegation against then Vice President Biden, current President Joe Biden. It's not a credible source making a claim, an allegation against the president. It's a credible FBI source saying, hey, I overheard this conversation and I feel obligated to report it, which is why he filed the 1023 and filed it under the Trump administration. When Donald Trump, Republican, was president, Bill Barr, Republican, was Attorney General over the Justice Department, and the Justice Department and the FBI were also led by Republicans as well. So this is, again, a person making a claim, I overheard a conversation. It would be like me saying to you, hey, I overheard Chuck Grassley, somebody say that Chuck Grassley did this bad thing. I'm not making the accusation against Chuck Grassley. I'm simply telling you that I overheard somebody make the allegation against Chuck Grassley, right? So Republicans are deliberately obfuscating the issue to try to suggest that a credible FBI source is impugning Joe Biden, when that is clearly not the case. So what's interesting about this is that James Comer was called out for this by Newsmax in a roundabout way. So we'll play this clip, and again, this is in reference to the audio recordings that allegedly exist, indicating that President Biden, during his time as Barack Obama's vice president, engaged in corrupt activities. So let's hear what James Comer here on the right and this Newsmax host have to say.
Well, I can confirm that the recordings were in the 1023. Remember, I was with Senator Grassley when we saw the unredacted version.
Okay, so because Grassley was saying alleged yesterday, so these recordings are legit. You can confirm they are legitimate.
Well, they were. I can confirm they were listed in the 1023 that the FBI redacted. We don't know if they're legit or not, but we know that the foreign national claims he has them.
Okay, so when can you confirm that they're legit? Because if they're legit...
I never looked into it. This is the problem. The FBI never investigated this.
So note what he says. Okay, the Newsmax guy just flat out asks, okay, so are these things legit or not? And even though Republicans are making a huge fuss about this, he's like, well, I can't confirm that they're legit because I haven't heard them. All I can confirm is that in this document by an FBI credible source, so again, it's a document written by a credible FBI source, the credible FBI source heard an unnamed foreign national claim that he has recordings of then Vice President Biden. So it's he said, she said, she said, she said. It's a train of hearsay. And Republicans are pinning their entire hopes on it. You'll see rhetoric all over social media, reckless, boastful claims that this is proof that the Bidens have engaged in corrupt behavior. And actually, again, it's not even close. And we see that this is something that Republicans have been doing as investigations into Trump have escalated. They're trying to find some sort of parallel with Biden that their base and hopefully moderates and independents in their mind can sink their teeth into. But as the Washington Post article notes, as journalist Marcy Wheeler notes, Comer and Grassley appear to be engaged in precisely what Republicans have long alleged about the dossier of reports compiled about Trump by former intelligence officer Christopher Steele, elevating questionable allegations from foreign sources that are transmitted by a paid FBI informant. But the target of these allegations is Biden, so they're presented with a default credulousness. So, again, this goes to the heart of the issue about Republican double standards. This is once again Comer and Grassley and congressional Republicans scrambling for anything that indicates that Joe Biden is as or more corrupt than Donald Trump, when in fact there is no evidence currently to even suggest it. This article, again, by the Washington Post dives into more detail. It's constantly updated as developments occur. But yeah, so don't fall for it. Don't let your uncle, who gets most of his news from right-wing Facebook memes, fall for it. There is no equivalence here. There is no comparable corrupt behavior here for which we have any evidence. Now, if the evidence comes out, fine, fair enough. But Republicans have come woefully short of making the claim, whereas the claims against Donald Trump are infinitely more substantive, infinitely more developed, and have infinite more evidence to support it. So they're not at all the same, and Republicans are just projecting.